please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mandy, would you please call the roll?
DeYoung.
Here.
Reinderhorst.
Here.
Banstra.
Here.
Carlstone.
Here.
Hopkins.
Here.
Spore. Here.
Can I get a motion for approval of the tentative agenda?
So moved.
Banstra, DeYoung, any discussion? All in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Banstra.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Reinderhorst.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Spore. Yes.
Motion passed. We have an opportunity for anyone to address council with any, regarding any agenda item this evening. It's on the agenda. This is an opportunity to come and speak to us about it. If so, please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address. Try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Okay, seeing none, we'll move. Oh.
Nick Ryan, I'm a rural resident of Oskaloosa. You guys are part of the consent agenda is approving the minutes from the airport committee meeting. I wanted to briefly touch on that. As I'm sure you're all aware, the city managers received a letter from Pella Court formally withdrawing their support from for the proposed regional airport and indicating their desire that public resources be directed to the current Pella Airport. A member of the Pella Airport Committee has confirmed with the CEO of Vermeer that Vermeer would like to see the focus shift to the current Pella Airport also. The safety concerns at the current Pella Airport that allowed the requirement for a cost-benefit study to be waived have been resolved, yet still no cost-benefit study has been done, and not one shred of hard data or evidence has been provided to the public that would indicate the public benefit of the proposed airport would outweigh the public cost. Millions of dollars in public money have been collectively wasted by the cities of Pella and Oskaloosa trying to litigate into existence an airport that this community does not need and does not want. Mahaska County farm families have been harassed, pressured, intimidated, and coerced into cooperation for 11 years, and the Iowa Supreme Court has found that the Airport 2080 agreement is unconstitutional in both its construction and effect. I'm here tonight because it's time to take the South Central Regional Airport off life support, and we need this council's help to pull the plug. It is time for this council to pass an ordinance withdrawing the city of Pella from the SCRA 2080 agreement and put an end to this once and for all. Thank you all.
Leanne Hessing, 512 Lincoln Street here in Pella, and I'm also talking about the airport, and I'm referring to an article in the Atomo Courier and where it said that committee member Matt Hutchinson, also an employee and representative of Vermeer, shared an update that he received about the proposed regional airport. And he submitted a letter that indicates that Pella Corps no longer supports the proposed South Central Regional Airport and would like the city to redirect its resources to the Pella Municipal Airport, and commented that the Pella Municipal Airport really needs a lot of work, and that it has been ignored because the money has been going to trying to get the regional airport going. And I just would like to know if Pella is indeed pulling out its support from the regional airport and going to support the municipal airport. And I was also wondering if any of that grant money that came from the FAA for the proposed regional airport, if any of that's left to help the Pella Municipal Airport. That's it.
Anyone else? All right, we'll move on. Can I get a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Miranda Horst Hopkins, any discussion? All in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Reinderhorst.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Spore.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Banstra.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to public hearing regarding Idaho Drive electric distribution conversion project bids. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to explain this item, and for those watching at home on Pella Fiber and those in attendance, I'd like to direct your attention to the big board upon this. As Mayor DeWard stated, tonight's public hearing is on a proposed electric underground conversion project. This project happens to be along Idaho Drive, and for reference, the map that we've shown up here, the blue highlighted route is the route where the underground conversion will take place. Now, it is important to note that this overhead distribution line is right around 12,500 volts. It was constructed right around the early 1990s, and what we're proposing to do is place the line underground from the city's water treatment plant to extend down to the Los Angeles subdivision, and we'll eventually connect that out into the city's Jordan well as well. So it's a reliability project both for the citizens of Los Angeles over here as well as the city's water supply, and that is the ultimate purpose of this line. So let's go ahead, please, Mandy. Now, as far as the bids that the city received on May 17th, we did receive 2 bids, and as you can see, the spread between the bids was just a little bit. It was Murphy Power Service in the amount of $635,849. The high bidder was Michael's Power in the amount of $855,052. Now, it is important to note the low bidder was below the engineer's opinion of probable cost, which was in the range of $680,000 to $720,000. Now, as far as the resolution and the action items that we got on the agenda tonight, Resolution 6590 is the traditional resolution that we typically see with public improvement projects that would propose to adopt the plan, specifications, form a contract, as well as accept the engineer's estimate of cost. Resolution 6591 formally awards the contract to Murphy Power for the amount of $635,848.96. Now, if council were to approve this resolution this evening, we'd be looking for a start date sometime shortly after June 20th of this year, and the project's substantial completion is actually scheduled for June 30th of 2024. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes the staff presentation. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions the mayor and council may have on this item.
All right, thank you, Mike. Mandy, any written comments received?
No written comments.
Council, any comments on this item?
I just have a question of Denny Murphy Tower. Have we used them before?
They haven't. I haven't. They've been in town working on the 5G for U.S. Cellular, I guess. They've been in town the last 2
It
years.
just seemed that Murphy Tower wouldn't be the name of something going underground.
Yeah, no, that's correct. But, no, they've been doing some of the work for these 5G towers.
Okay, anything else, council? Any member of the audience have a comment about these resolutions? All right, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
DeYoung, Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Spore,
Yes.
Vanderhorst,
Yes.
Anstra,
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on, resolution number 6590, entitled Resolution Adopting Plan Specifications, Form of Contract, and Estimate of Cost of the Idaho Drive Electric Distribution Conversion. Assume we know everything we need to know, Mike?
That is correct.
All right, can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support. Horst, Carlstone. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Carlstone,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Spore,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Anstra.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to resolution number 6591, entitled Resolution Making Award for Construction Contract for the Idaho Drive Electric Distribution Conversion. Can I get a motion for approval?
Support.
Hopkins, DeYoung, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Hopkins,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Vanderhorst,
Yes.
Anstra,
Yes.
Carlstone,
Yes.
Spore.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on, special event permit request for Pella All Original Music Showcase. Mike?
Yes, once again, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to direct everyone's attention to the big board for a brief presentation on this item. And the special event permit that we're considering this evening comes to us from Chris Hopkins. As Mayor DeWard stated, is to host an all original music showcase. That is scheduled for Saturday, September 16th from noon to 10 p.m. Now, we do have a description up on the board as well, but it is important to note that this request, included with the request, is a resolution that's proposed to post 6 parking spaces for loading and unloading that are directly in front of the tulip torn. That's the red highlighted area here. Now, it is important to note that all pertinent city departments have reviewed this application. The fee has been received, and staff is recommending conditional approval of the event and resolution, and that's contingent upon receiving the certificate of insurance this evening, Mr. Mayor. So with that, that concludes the staff presentation this evening.
All right, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
DeYoung, Spore, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Spore,
Yes.
Vanderhorst,
Yes.
DeAnstruck,
Yes.
Carlstone,
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Motion passed. Resolution number 6592, entitled Resolution Temporarily Closing Public Way or Grounds in Connection with a Special Event known as Pella All Original Music Showcase. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved. Support.
Vanderhorst, Spore, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst,
Yes.
Spore,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
DeAnstruck,
Yes.
Carlstone,
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Motion passed. Resolution number 6593, entitled Resolution Approving Change Order Number 1, Final Quantity and Adjustment Miscellaneous Items and Accepting the Public Improvements for the 250th Avenue Reconstruction Project. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to explain this item. As Mayor DeWard stated, what we're entertaining this evening is change order number 1 to the improvements that occurred on 250th Avenue. We do have listed up on the board a picture of the newly improved road. Previously, this was a gravel intersection, gravel road, or there was some hard surfacing there as well. But it turned out to be a very nice project for the City of Pella. We do have a description of the improvements that occurred on 250th Avenue. Mandy, let's go ahead, please. As Mayor DeWard stated, change order number 1 is actually a combination of two things. That we've had additional change order for additional items that were due and attributed to cold weather for the project. Those totaled $9,462. Likewise, we had a final quantities adjustment. Anytime you see a final quantities adjustment, that's the reconciliation between what the contractor bid as far as the quantities and what was actually placed in the ground. And that's actually the reduction, in this case, of $7,779, which leaves us a net increase in the contracted amount of $1,683. Now, if council were to approve this change order this evening, we'd be left with a final contract amount of $386,563.35. It is important to note that the engineer on the project is recommending the project acceptance and believes the project was completed in accordance with the council approved plans and specifications. Furthermore, staff is also recommending approval of the change order number 1, which also accepts the public improvements for 250th Avenue. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that council may have on this item.
All right, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval? Hopkins, Carlstone, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Carlstone,
Yes.
Spore,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Vanderhorst,
Yes.
DeAnstruck.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on, resolution number 6594, entitled Resolution Approving the Partnership Agreement with the Pella Historical Society for the Downtown Speaker System. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to explain this item. As Mayor DeWard stated, what we're proposing with this resolution, approval of this resolution rather, is an agreement with the Pella Historical Society for the Downtown Speaker System project. Now, it's important to note that council originally discussed this request on March 7th, and we also discussed this during the city's budget process, which was for FY 23-24, the fiscal year that starts on July 1st of this year. Now, as far as the project is concerned, what occurred with the project is that the system, sound system, all the major components of the sound system were replaced, and it's a good thing because they were done just before tulip time of this year. Now, as far as the estimated cost or the project cost on this, it was over $269,000 for this. And if you recall, during the budget process, we talked about the city's contribution being in the amount of $134,652, which would be funded with local option taxes as well. So with that, I believe we've covered these items. Mandy, let's go ahead, please. Now, a few highlights that we have with this. When you read through the agreement, you'll note that our responsibilities were to contribute up to a maximum of $154,652. We're also going to be responsible for the operation and ongoing maintenance for the sound system as well. In addition, we will have to create and establish user fees, fees for use of the system. Those would be parties outside of the Pella Historical Society. Fellow Historical Society's responsibilities will fund all costs in excess of the city contribution as well. In addition, they would be funding repairs and maintenance during the equipment during tulip time events. Now, in summer, Mr. Mayor, we'd like to mention that this agreement was approved. It was actually reviewed and drafted by the city attorney, and staff is recommending approval this evening.
All right, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Young, Carlstone, any discussion?
It was fantastically better this year.
Yes.
Anything else? All right, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Carlstone,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Spore,
Yes.
Vanderhorst,
Yes.
DeAnstruck.
Yes.
Motion passed. Abstract of bills number 2128. Can I get a motion for approval?
Move to approve and issue warrants.
DeYoung,
Support.
Branderhorst, any questions, discussion? All right, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Vanderhorst,
Yes.
DeAnstruck,
Yes.
Carlstone,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Spore.
Yes.
Motion passed. Any council member have any other business needs to be addressed this evening? Okay, any member of the public have any other business that you would like to address the council with this evening? If so, please step forward. The microphone, state your name and address. Try to limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Karma Ruth Ben, 300 West 5th Street, Pella. I just have a couple things. Wondering when the Marion Street is going to be paved, since it was supposed to be done May 3rd, Monroe Street. And a couple weeks ago, I had brought up about the Washington Street, putting a crosswalk there. Well, I was wondering if it would be inexpensive if you could just, if there's more to it maybe that I don't understand, but just to draw your white lines across Washington Street, because you haven't on all the other sections, just to draw the 2 white lines for a walkway to go across. Anyway, and who is responsible at Walmart's parking lot for all the holes and stuff in it?
That would be Walmart's parking lot, yeah.
Okay, and what about at the Pella schools, Pella schools then? Okay. Okay, that's what I thought. All right, thanks.
Walmart started their project today.
Did they?
They're redoing the whole parking lot.
Wow.
They started doing concrete removals yesterday, I believe,
Okay.
or this morning.
Okay, anyone else? All right, do I have a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to Iowa Code Chapter 21.5, Paragraph 1C, to discuss strategy of the council on matters we presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent,
So moved.
where its disclosure would be likely to prejudice or disadvantage the position of the governmental body in that litigation.
So moved.
Support.
Branderhorst, DeYoung. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
DeAnstruck,
Yes.
Carlstone,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Spore.
Yes.
All right, so we are moving into closed session. We're going to go into Chief's office for this. And we will be back later to do our policy and planning sessions for this. All right, we're back in open session. I don't believe there's any motions coming out of our closed session, so we will move to policy and planning first to discuss health plan premiums for our next fiscal year 23-24. Mike?
I guess, Mr. Mayor, once again, I'd like to direct the council's attention to the Mayor Ward. As Mayor Ward stated, what we're here to talk about tonight is the city's health plan premiums for fiscal year 23-24, and this would be the fiscal year that would start on July 1st of this year. And what we're proposing overall is a 10% increase in the premiums for the city for the city employees' health care coverage. This was the same amount that was discussed during the 2024 budget process on it. And we do have the details listed up on the big board as far as the impact is with the single and family plans. It is important to note that the City of Pella covers 90% of the cost of the premiums that are charged, and city employees are responsible for 10%. So before presenting this for official consideration by the City Council, we would just like to know if there's any questions or concerns by the City Council, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. We have a comment or question? Seems like we're ready to approve it.
All right, very good. Very similar request that we have tonight on the city's dental premiums. The one difference is these premiums are paid 100% by the city's workforce, and what we're proposing is a 4% increase. Once again, this was the same amount that was discussed during the 2024 budget process. So with that, Mr. Mayor, we're looking for checking to make sure before it's presented before formal consideration if there's any questions or concerns by the City Council.
Okay.
Stacy, are you hearing anything from like employees that, I mean, it's just coming across the board. I don't think that this is out of line for anyone anymore. Any employer, I should say.
Right, yeah, I don't know, I think everything's going up, inflation in general,
Yeah.
so,
I feel good about the compensation study that we did, and then having, I mean, this is just gonna fall in line, so. If we're paying them fairly, then.
I think you'll have some employees who will see the 10%, and then they see themselves getting a 4.8%. It doesn't always equate, but I think there's always frustration with that, but I don't know that there's,
Well, and yeah. And again, we looked at the compensation study, so I feel that we're giving them what we can too, so. Okay, just wanted to check, thanks.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Mr. Mayor, the last item that we have this evening is actually a continuation of discussions that we had last fall. If you recall, council spent some time discussing peddler permits under the city code. And really, I would say when we talk about peddlers under city code, this is not only for what people would associate with people selling goods and wares, but under the city code, it also includes food trucks, and that was really the point of the discussion or the emphasis rather than the discussion last fall. So with that, Mr. Mayor, let's go ahead. Here, I would be remiss if I didn't say, when we talk about food trucks currently under the city code, they are classified as peddlers, and they are required to get a peddler's permit through the city clerk's office. In addition, they're restricted to, they are actually restricted, they can only operate currently in commercial zoning districts that we have throughout the community. Now, in previous discussions that we've had with the council, there's been discussions as far as food trucks expanding the zoning districts on it, particularly going to M1 and M2 industrial zoning districts in addition to community commercial zoning districts as well. Now, with that, the Planning and Zoning Department did discuss this issue with the Community Development Committee, and Mr. Jared Parker is here this evening on that. But Mandy, if we can go to CDC's thoughts on the matter. And when they looked at the peddler permit requirements, their recommendation to the City Council is expand the zoning districts to also include industrial zoning districts. This would be both limited light industrial M1 and also heavy industrial M2, as well as institutional zoning districts. And they had some thoughts on design and permit requirements, and we'll let the council look at their recommendation here on it as well. So CDC did spend a lot of time on the matter, and I think there is a consensus that there is a thought that something should be done and potentially expanding it, particularly to accommodate food trucks within the community. Let's go ahead, please, Mandy. From our standpoint, Mandy and I have spent a lot of time on this as well, and what we would recommend to council is if we're considering, I'd say, significant changes to the city code to make it easier for food trucks to operate within Pella. Some cities on there, in fact, there's a few that are actually very good ordinances around Pella that have already had a well-defined process for food trucks. And what we would recommend is to establish a separate zoning code or a zoning definition for food trucks. They'd be called mobile food vendors. And the emphasis for the food trucks as it pertains to this would be a little bit different than the typical peddler. Instead of looking particularly at background checks, we would place the emphasis on making sure that the food trucks had the state of Iowa food service license as well as a business certificate of insurance to operate within the community. That would be our emphasis. And that's currently what other communities emphasize too when they regulate food trucks. We would also look at where food trucks would be allowed at, and particularly, I think there'd be a consensus to expand that to industrial and institutional. We'd have discussions on whether it's appropriate to have design requirements for food trucks as well, and particularly if they were a separate zoning definition and a peddler permit on it as well. And in addition, we'd also have documentation and permission from the property owner where the mobile food vendor is proposing to locate. Believe it or not, there's been disputes between the property owner and the food vendors in the past on this matter. So that would be what our recommendation would be, is just to create a separate zoning code for this called the mobile food vendor, and change the emphasis on how they're regulated as it applies to food trucks on here. So before we go on and go to kind of the summary and our recommendation on how we wrap things up and proceed, is there any questions on either the CDC committee meetings on this or city administration's recommendation?
I just think it's such a good idea to separate this out and make this a whole separate ordinance in and of itself, and redefine, as you started that process there. I think that's a really great idea.
So can you go back to the CDCs? It seems to me this kind of touches on what we discussed, right? Does this cover it all? Seems to me it does.
Something that isn't mentioned, maybe just gets passed, is we were downtown last Thursday night, and of course there's a whole block of mobile food vendors. That just grandfathered in. Do we have to be specific?
It's under the special event permit.
Yeah,
as well.
there's all
And they're
different kinds
less
of.
than 30 days. Isn't it like if you're in there more than 30 days?
Well, how we've been operating, Mandy, correct me if I'm wrong, for Thursdays in Pella, even, that's just tulip time. It's the event organizer that's responsible for the mobile food vendors. So if the council approves a special event permit, they're responsible for the mobile food vendors, or the food trucks.
I'm assuming the mobile food unit would have a definition. It's not just a truck, it could be the bicycle or.
Yeah, the city of Newton has a very good ordinance and process for food trucks on it as well. So they'd be separately defined. They'd be separate from a peddler. We think it's still probably appropriate if someone's selling goods and wares through the community that they deal with the police department on it. The emphasis with the peddlers. Food trucks are a little different circumstance and have different
Yeah, I have a quick
parameters.
question. Hypothetically speaking, someone asked to sell sweet corn in M2 zone, but it's not cooked, but it's food. How does that fit?
Jared?
So under the current definition, under the current definition, that would be likely considered as a retail use or peddler use. Either way, both of those likely would not be allowed in a new district.
Good to know. Thank you.
But that could be covered under a new mobile food unit.
Well, yeah, I think it was your definition of mobile food unit that kind of spurred me to ask that.
I think that's kind of a nice segue actually into what our recommendation would be on it. So we had CDC that looked at keeping the definition food trucks with peddlers. They have their recommendation. Mandy, let's go ahead. We covered what city administration's recommendation would be, is just to create a new definition for the mobile food vendor. And let's go ahead and talk about it.
I think this is the
Yes,
last
okay.
signature.
All right, okay, very good. Just in summary, the more things we look to change under the city code, the longer it's going to take, and there's value to it. The code is set up to facilitate public input. Zoning code changes take a long time on it, so keep that in mind as we make changes on these items. What may seem a relatively simple solution, they do take time on it. Now, if we look at this, if council wishes to make significant changes on this, staff believes there's value, just due to the length of time we've been talking about this, to operate in somewhat of an not just to operate in an efficient manner. And what we would recommend is, if we're looking at either the mobile food vendor or peddler on it, the council assign 1 or 2 council members to work with city staff on making proposed changes to deal with the food trucks. That would be our recommendation. It'd be a small committee that we could work directly. We would report back to city council before you'd start any formal consideration of ordinances. And we think that would be the most efficient way to go about this process. And we've also had it expressed to us from private industry that there's some desire to have particularly food trucks allowed as well would be beneficial on this. So time, it is somewhat of a time-sensitive matter on it. So with that, Mr. Mayor, we're looking for direction on this item.
Okay.
Well, personally, I would love to be involved with this process because I feel like I've immersed myself in it for almost the last 2 years. So I would love to be working on that because there is a huge learning curve in the difference between special use permits, peddlers permits, and special events. So I would love to help with some changes.
And then what I was wondering with that last bullet point with this, Lynn was just telling me that a lot of the factory workers are the ones taking advantage. Should we have a representative of the 2 or 3 biggest factories on that committee as well, or is that making it too big?
I think that's a judgment call of the city council. Just keep in mind that if we do make changes, whatever way we go, whether it's the mobile food vendor making changes to the peddler process, it's likely to have a public hearing at planning and zoning. There'll be another public hearing at the city council level. And what we had thought about is that if there's 2, let's say 1 or 2 representatives from the council, we had assumed that they would reach out to the industry and get their input on it as well.
I know you get it too big, it can be unwieldy too.
Right.
So, but I think their input is valuable for the decision making or the recommendations of this committee.
And I'm willing to certainly participate. I obviously play on that side of with the industry side, so I'm more than happy to participate.
Okay, just a
We have our
practical
2.
question.
We have our 2.
How do they possibly serve enough food during that short break when there's hundreds of employees coming out?
Oh, no, they don't. But it's just to have an
First come,
option.
first
It's
served,
more,
right?
I mean, like, our
That's
team
their
members
problem.
know, like, if you're like, they know which number, like, you have to be in McDonald's, if you can make it in there. Like, if they're like 8 or 9, they know that that's going to be too long. So, like, they've gotten it down to a science. Like, right, yeah, so, it's just to have, like, an additional
Okay.
amenity, if you will, for our team. So, that's my corporate hat, sorry. But,
Okay, so Lynn and Liz are working with staff
Get
on
it
this
done.
one.
And then who are the city staff members on it?
Most likely Mandy and probably someone from P&Z. Most likely Jerry Vitus.
Okay.
I love the idea of setting
Yeah,
up
you
a
guys
separate
like food?
category.
I love
That's
it.
too.
Okay, anything else?
Good.
Sample.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Vanstra, Hopkins. All in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanstra.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Motion passed. We are adjourned.